And on that moment, let's go straight across now to our principal correspondent, Siddharth MP, who is on the ground and has been tracking those developments for us. Siddharth, over to you. What's the latest?
Yeah, we're barely about 4 minutes away from liftoff. We're here at Sriharikota. Clear blue skies behind us. Bit of clouds, but yes, we're anticipating that the launch will, be visible in a really brilliant manner, glowing in the golden light, the majestic GSLV. The 52-meter tall vehicle is expected to be lifting off in just about 4 minutes. So certainly we are there here at Sriharikota to show our viewers history unfolding from Sriharikota, because for a long time, and perhaps, in India's history, this will perhaps be the most expensive satellite to be lifting off from here, because usually Indian satellites cost a couple of $1 million, but something that's close to $1 billion in cost, that's unprecedented anywhere in the world, and no exception, it's unprecedented here as well. So that's the kind of enthusiasm that prevails over here. We're highly looking forward to this majestic liftoff, which is expected in just about 4 minutes from now, Molly.
Right, so just 4 minutes to go, a very crucial milestone being set. Let's also talk about the fact that this is a major step and a crucial way forward as far as the India-US partnership is concerned as well.
Absolutely. India-US space ties are not something that started in recent past. India-US space ties have been there since the 1960s. Many would not know that the first rocket that ISRO or ISRO's predecessor or precursor launched, it was called INCOSPAR in 1962-63. So the first rocket that lifted off from Indian soil is an American origin Nike Apache rocket. Of course, it is not a space rocket, but it was an experimental rocket. That lifted off from Tumba in Thiruvananthapuram in the early 1960s. That's how, in fact, it also acknowledges India program began. And through the years, there have been joint missions. India has ordered satellites that America has launched for us. Then most recently, we had Shubhanshu Shukla, the Air Force pilot, Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla, the fighter pilot come Gagan Yatri or astronaut, who flew to the space station. He spent about 2 weeks there conducting experiments, getting a first-hand experience of human spaceflight. So he came back to Earth, and of course now he's undergoing debriefing and various other recovery and rehabilitation programs in the US. So India-US space ties certainly on the upswing, and NISAR, of course, is a huge in the overall history of India-US space ties, and certainly this is not going to be the last, given that both India and US have a vibrant space ecosystem and a vibrant space agency in each country. Certainly the scope for partnership is ample, and NISAR is yet another testimony to that, because this is a collaborative mission. Never before has India built a satellite of this sort, and never before have India and US come together to equally contribute to a mission and then build a satellite like this. And then of course now ISRO is launching it. We're barely about 2 or 3 minutes away from launch now, Molly.
Right, so just minutes to go. Let's also talk about, this is the first joint Earth observation mission between the Indian Space Research Organization, ISRO, and America's National Aeronautics and Space Administration, that's NASA, which basically means that there is a combination of the expertise, the synergies, and the strengths of the two agencies, which of course also means that this is a major step forward when it comes to the global efforts as well. So all eyes, Siddharth MP, will be on the way forward as far as this mission is concerned, because this is also the world's costliest Earth observation satellite, and a lot of expectations and hopes hinging on it.
Absolutely. As you rightly pointed out, this is not just about India and the US, but this is about the whole world, because this is a satellite that will essentially serve as a constant health monitor for the Earth. Imagine undergoing a health checkup every week and tracking your health, pretty much near real time. That's what NISAR is for the whole planet Earth, because every week NISAR will complete total imaging of the Earth's surface, be it the ice surface or the solid land surface. So every week this will be done, and subsequently with every passing week, the imagery each week can be compared with the previous one and the one after, and that will help in identifying whether land is changing, how it's changing, to what extent it's changing. And in simple terms, this is more like undergoing a health check every now and then to progress how well you're doing. Why do we wear fitness trackers? To get a real-time understanding of how well we're doing. NISAR is exactly that for the Earth. You're constantly watching the Earth. Every week you're doing a comprehensive full imaging of the Earth. You understand what's happening. You see if something is changing, whether the surface is moving, and perhaps you'll get an understanding understanding of, whether some disasters are unfolding, volcanic eruptions, possible landslides, possible earthquakes. You'll understand a lot.
Come back to you. Let's just play out for the viewers the latest coming in.
F-16 NISAR mission. The L-40 strap-ons ignite 4.8 seconds ahead of T0 so that their nominal thrust can be ascertained before igniting the booster. Liftoff coincides with the ignition of S-139, also called as GS-1 at T0. The burn time of GS-1 is 112 seconds and that of the L-40s is 149 seconds. By the time GS-1 and L-40s finish their operation, the launch vehicle is at 104 kilometers altitude. In a staging event typically called as hot separation, the GS-2 stage is ignited 600 milliseconds after the L-40 thrust cutoff, and 1.6 seconds later, the stage separation takes place. When the launch vehicle reaches 138 kilometers altitude, the dense atmosphere would have cleared. Since the need for thermal shielding and aerodynamic shape is no longer significant, the payload fairing is jettisoned. Closed-loop guidance also is initiated. At this point of time in the mission, the launch vehicle would have acquired 2.1 kilometers per second relative velocity. For the present mission, the burn time for GS2 that is fed into the onboard computers help the rocket to veer through the atmosphere with minimal aerodynamic loads.
प्रथम चरण का कोर बूस्टर लगभग 100 सेकंड्स तक प्रज्वलित रहेगा तथा L-40 चरण 150
velocity to the launch vehicle. The CUS operation adds 376.55 kilometers
stand by for the time mark
and increases relative velocity from 3.5 kilometers per second to 7.5 kilometers per second. An operational philosophy unique to the GS-LV F-16 NISAR mission is that CUS stage is operated by 11% for the duration of 405 seconds. About 11 minutes into flight, the cryogenic upper stage shuts down. The satellite NISAR is separated to be injected into an altitude of 745.5 kilometers with a relative velocity of 7.57 kilometers per second.
Minus 25 seconds.
We are mere 25 seconds from the launch.
All the movies open. Minus 20 seconds.
सभी दर्शक हमारे साथ बने रहिए।
सर्वप्रथम
T-4.8 सेकंड्स पर L-40s का प्रज्वलन हम देखेंगे।
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
All L-40 engines generating nominal thrust. S-139 motor ignited.
5 seconds.
That's a magnificent of the GS-LV F-16 NISAR mission. The deafening roar of GS-LV and beautiful silhouette brightening the Sriharikota sky.
जी हाँ, अभी आपने देखा चारों L-40 तथा कोर बूस्टर S-139 का सफल प्रज्वलन और GS-LV F-16 का उत्थापन द्वितीय प्रमोचन मंच से और ये अपने गंतव्य की ओर बढ़ता हुआ। हम यहाँ कंपन महसूस कर पा रहे हैं मिशन नियंत्रण केंद्र पर।
The first stage of GS-LV with S-139 solid core motor and 4 L-40 liquid strap-ons thrusting together. 7,800 kilonewton cumulative thrust.
First stage performance normal.
Sharwan is in main auto.
The day of launch wind biasing program that is fed into the onboard computers helped the rocket to veer through the atmosphere with minimal aerodynamic loads.
प्रथम चरण का कोर बूस्टर लगभग 100 सेकंड्स तक प्रज्वलित रहेगा तथा L-40 चरण 150 सेकंड तक प्रज्वलित रहकर शांत हो जाएंगे। तत्पश्चात इसे यान से पृथक कर दिया जाएगा। वर्तमान में सभी तंत्र सामान्य निष्पादन करते हुए और यान अपने अपेक्षित पथ का अनुकरण करता हुआ जा रहा है।
Performance normal.
Currently the rocket is in open loop guidance. Shar ground station is tracking.
Right, so that's a huge moment as India furthers its space ambitions, taking the huge leap, that crucial partnership between India and the United States. This, of course, is the first joint Earth observation mission between ISRO and NASA, which combines the strengths of the two agencies. Let's go across to Siddharth MP, who's been tracking those minute-by-minute developments for us. Let's just talk about the significance of this moment for the world at large, because this is no ordinary Earth observation satellite that we are talking about.
Yeah, indeed. The data originating from NISAR's L-band and S-band radars is going to benefit everyone on Earth. In simple terms, this is free and open source data, which means the data from ISRO and NASA would be respectively made available on their servers, and this is data that anybody with the means can download and use at no cost. And the intention behind doing this is so that Earth science as a field can progress, so that geology and so many other fields pertaining to Earth science can be furthered. And this is done with the pure intention just so that our understanding of our home planet gets better. Climate change is a major threat. There's also several other natural disasters that happen all of a sudden. But is there a means that we can precisely image the Earth and try to find out when something changes, even centimeter level changes on Earth's surface? If it happens, can we find out when that's taking place, how that's taking place? And according to that, can we draw some conclusions? Can we understand some symptoms, some telltale signs of some disaster that could happen, and then prevent that or perhaps save lives? So this is a huge mission, not just for ISRO and NASA, but this is also something that matters for the whole world, purely because this is about saving lives. This is also about understanding our planet better. This is also about contributing to the betterment of humanity. And never before has a satellite studied the Earth in so much detail. Think of it like a CCTV camera for Earth. We have a camera to monitor different places. But this is going to monitor the Earth non-stop, the entire globe, the entire Earth's surface for at least the next 3 to 5 years, Molly. That's why this is so significant.
Indeed, and of course a very emotional moment for India as well, Siddharth MP. Let's just focus also on what this means for the country's space journey, for its space ambitions, and for the fact that this once again re-establishes India's position as a crucial contributor to the global space efforts and also its position as a space leader.
Truly, in fact, if you look at space history, the history has been such that when two great space powers or more space powers collaborate, there is a fantastic outcome. The most classic example of that is how the International Space Station exists around the Earth. It's an orbiting lab. It's been there for more than 25 years. So there's very different countries who've been part of that effort. There's US, there's Europe, there's Japan, there's Canada, and there's Russia. All 5 of them came together to build the space station. And even now the space station functions as a towering example of humanity's collaboration off Earth and on Earth. So that's how brilliant space cooperation is. And as a space agency matures, as a space agency becomes more prominent, naturally there will be partnership opportunities that come up. And ISRO is no stranger to partnerships. But of course, now is the era of also greater level of partnership because of ISRO's growing stature, India's growing responsibilities and roles in the space sector. We know that India also, dedicates satellites for the region. For example, there's a satellite dedicated for South Asia to benefit several countries in the region. So this is not just about working with other countries, but it's also about space diplomacy, trying to make sure that India's progress in space can be used to benefit other countries. As far as our partnership with preeminent space powers is concerned, of course, this NISAR mission is a towering example of Indo-US space cooperation, as was Axiom 4, where Group Captain Shukla flew to the space station. Of course, it was a commercial mission, but it is a sign of cooperation between the two agencies. Let's also look at future missions. India and Japan are working on LUPEX, or Lunar Polar Exploration Mission. India calls it Chandrayaan 5. This is also about landing on the moon and performing experiments there using a rover. So it's a completely robotic mission, but this is there in partnership with France. India wants to build another type of satellite to study the Earth and other natural phenomena. So there are several missions like this that are lined up between India and foreign agencies. And to talk about formal partnerships or memoranda of understanding, India has a memoranda of understanding with more than 50 nations, more than 50 nations. India has MOUs in terms of space cooperation. So that's the kind of avenues of cooperation that's available when it comes to India's space diplomacy, space prowess and outreach. Molly.
Right, Siddharth MP getting us those updates from on the ground. You know, we also showed our viewers those tense moments. Siddharth MP also has been sharing with us what things are looking like on the ground. You know, this is the culmination also of an extensive journey and those efforts that have been made in the run-up to this culmination point. Let's just talk our viewers through those dynamics and the trajectory that actually has led to this moment that the entire world has its eyes on.
Indeed. So this NISAR mission was born somewhere around 2007 when the US released a decadal report regarding Earth studies and the need for such a kind of program. And later that year, or in fact in those years, there was a partnership that was forged between ISRO and NASA, and that partnership really came to be on paper in 2014. And it was after that that both agencies started working together for this. So the major complexity when we spoke to both NASA and ISRO officials is that these are two very different countries, two very different space agencies, both in two different parts of the world. In fact, at least 16-hour flights away from each other. They've not worked with each other at such a level before. But what they need to do is to collaborate, to work together, to design, to develop, and then to conceptualize a lot of things, and then figure out whether all of that can bear fruition. And then budgets have to be allocated. Both our government-backed agencies, budgets have to be allocated. Then there's a design and development of the craft that is to take place. Then, in fact, the design and development phase alone took about 5 years of time. And it was only after the pandemic, about 2019-20, that slowly things changed. And then it reached a hardware level where ISRO built some of its hardware, sent it to the US. That hardware was tested there. It was integrated with the US components. Then it was later brought to India in 2023. Then, of course, there were some technical issues. So some of the hardware went back to the US. Then there in the US, the hardware was tested. It was set right. And then now we have launch here. So clearly a 10-year process that's now come to fruition. And as you rightly pointed out, it's a massive journey for both countries and certainly a great experience. When we spoke to ISRO scientists, they appreciate the fact that they get global exposure working with NASA. There's a lot of collaboration, and when great minds work together, there's a lot of new ideas. There's a lot of better learning and understanding. They understand each other's culture as well. And in fact, one of the highlights of NASA is their level of openness and their type of science communication, something that the whole world is in awe of, because right from the Apollo moon landings, NASA's imagery and NASA's way of explaining things and explaining their way of, exploring space is something that is looked upon, in a great way world over. So these are things that each space agency gets to learn from the other, how they perform certain things, their standard procedures, and of course also innovation, talk about also the unique ways in which problems are solved. All of this is a great experience for both space agencies that are participating in this mission. Molly.
Right, and this, of course, as we've been telling our viewers, has also been an emotional moment for Indians who have also been waiting with bated breath for this very moment. We also got our viewers those shots of the crowds that had gathered. Siddharth MP, tell us more about the arrangements that have been made and what we know about the very fact that there are, arrangements that are in place for people to actually witness the moment on the ground as well.
Yeah, indeed. So in a very unique move a couple of years ago, ISRO opened up their spaceport for the public, which means people could come to Sriharikota, pretty much enter the campus and go to a dedicated open air stadium sort of facility. They call it the LVG, or Launch Viewers Gallery, which means the people there can gather in large numbers, 5,000 to 8,000 people. It can handle a fairly big capacity crowd. All of them can gather over there, and that location is about 6 kilometers as a bird flies from the launch pad. So while seated there, while people are waiting there, they'll have access to a direct line of sight where they can just see the launch pad about 6 kilometers away from them. And as the vehicle lifts off, it's a moment of complete, shall I say, excitement, and it's also a hair-raising moment, because when the rocket lifts off, for somebody who's watching it for the first time, it's an absolute privilege. It's a moment that one cannot describe, just through words, because for about 6 or 8 kilometers radius around Sriharikota, you hear the engines of the rocket roaring, and that's an absolute uplifting feeling, and there's nothing that can describe that. So the engines roaring of the rocket, and at least for about a minute or a minute and a half, you hear the engine roar, you see the vehicle lift off, you see the majestic plumes, you see the fire, you see the blaze at the end of the rocket, and there's an absolute feeling of patriotism and national pride as well, because of India's space program and the overall, achievements of India in space. Chandrayaan 3 was a launch where thousands of people had turned up to watch. So whenever there is a milestone launch, whenever there is a big rocket, in fact, flying, there is a huge crowd here at the spaceport, at the viewers gallery, to witness it as it unfolds. And this crowd notably includes school students, it includes middle-aged people, it includes senior citizens, it includes children. So possibly one section of the crowd are future space scientists for India. They're probably future engineers or scientists who want to work in this domain. And, you know, getting exposure to this at such a young age means that they'll remain fascinated for life, and they'll probably turn this passion into action and later also contribute to India's space program in the coming decades. So that's the beauty of watching a launch from Sriharikota, from the viewers gallery, which is open to public. Molly.
Right, and we also saw those moments of emotion, and the sentiment there was palpable, the excitement on the ground. One can almost feel it from all the way. We're leaving it there for the moment. Siddharth MP, thanks very much for joining us with those updates from on the ground. A crucial leap forward for India in that joint collaboration between NASA and ISRO. The first joint Earth observation mission between the two agencies combining their strengths, a significant milestone in the India-US partnership.
To stay up to speed with the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.